Welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neil, and I'm joined by Les Best, Cap of Derelicts, which I absolutely loved. Welcome to the
Oh,
show.
I'm so glad.
Yeah, I saw it at Buffalo Dreams Fantastic Film Festival, and it was honestly my favorite movie of the festival. And there was a lot of good ones.
Was it really? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh! Well, thank you. That's great. I tell you what, I love it. The first time I got to see the whole thing through, I just thought that they had done an amazing job with it, and I was just so proud to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's great because it's fun and it's also it works as a horror movie. It kind of hits all of the notes that I enjoy. It was a great time, and the crowd was really into it.
Well, good, good. Yeah, and that's good because stuff happens in there that you don't expect and that you're sorry to see, and I'm glad that people can still enjoy it, even though they might be disappointed with some some plot twists that occur. But anyway, no,
Yeah,
that's good to hear.
yeah, and I was glad I liked it because Brett was there, the director, with his dad, and they
Oh,
were very
right.
yeah, and they were very nice to me all weekend. And I kept thinking, oh man, I hope I like their movie, because then it's kind of awkward if you don't. But it was very
Exactly. Then you don't have a lot to say. It's like, well, great meeting you.
exactly. So, so how did you get
Well,
how did you get involved in Derelicts?
well, I had been playing mostly straight-laced, middle-class guys in a lot of my earlier roles, and I saw the description in a casting call, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to break out and do something that's completely outside of so that I don't get typed. And so I was actually growing my hair out for another role where I needed a comb over, and so I thought, well, I'm just going to use that for this guy, and went in, auditioned, and they got the call back, and I was just thrilled, and got cast, and um, that's really, it was just a typical thing. They didn't have any idea who I was. I didn't know who they were, but I loved the script, the sides that they sent me, and I was just excited about the possibility.
Yeah. So in the audition, did you play Cap pretty much like you did in the movie?
There were some changes. I think I played him a bit more completely unhinged, um, like a one-man wrecking crew in the audition, and and um, and as you know, in the movie, I'm a little bit more of a stabilizing leader that kind of tries to control a lot of the elements, even though I do have some parts where I'm trying to instill some intimidation and get control of the circumstances. But I'm not unhinged as much in the movie, and so that part changed a little bit.
Hmm. So what were some of like your influences, or how did you come up with like some of the mannerisms and the look and how you portrayed the character?
Well, you know, um, I saw him from the outset being kind of um, a middle-aged redneck Charles Manson. That's
Hmm.
kind of the way I saw him, and so I did some reading about Charles Manson, and um, and I'll be honest with you, Neil. I probably did more character research on Cap than I've done just about any role. I think I wrote about 60, 70 pages
Hmm.
of character background because I wanted, when you play a role like that, you don't want it to be external. You want it to be internal. You want it to come from the inside out, and you've got to have the stuff that's happened. The homework has got to be in there internally, and so there were a lot of pieces that um, I developed, through research. Brett was always great because if I had any questions, if there were any gaps in the material and I didn't understand a reference to something, I could call him up, And he'd obviously written a great deal more information than what was on the paper. And so there were a lot of times he was able to give me a great deal of information about it. But there were times when he said, that's an interesting question. Why don't you do it and let me know how that comes out? And so there was some give and take with that. And then we also had opportunities to get together as groups. All of the homeless crew got together on a number of occasions to kind of work together and become a team together and understand. And we developed some of those personality traits and physical attributes during that time.
Yeah, I think that definitely comes through because you could tell there's not only like chemistry among everybody, but not everyone necessarily gets along. It's like a real family, There's there's tension between different people, and I always think if you do the background of your character, even if the audience doesn't know it, I think it comes through that there's more layers to this person. They're more like an actual person as opposed to just like one dimensional.
Yeah, well, and that's what I would hope, and I appreciate you saying that because, that's obviously that is the goal that there is that view that there is some depth there that we're not getting to see all of it on screen.
Because you mentioned Charles Manson, in no way like to defend him or anything, but there's a lot of things that made him who he was. How he grew up and in and out of prison and stuff. So. And there's a great speech actually by the Black Forest character Sam Pleasant, which kind of goes into that.
Yeah, and Black Forest and I were kind of like a father and son. I mean, we kind of adopted each other, and he does go a little bit more into his past, and I love the writing, and I so love the way that Black Forest takes that and delivers it. I thought it was mesmerizing.
Had you worked with? I know you said that you guys had a time to get together to rehearse a little bit as a group. But had you worked with anyone before?
No one. Well, no. The old man, the old bald guy.
Yeah,
we had
just
finished in fact, if you watched my reel, you saw a little bit of a scene that I did with him. And that was the only time. And we had already gotten cast in that other, it was a short. And so when we came together for the table read on this one, we didn't know that the other person was there. And it was quite humorous because the movies were completely different.
Right, yeah. It's a great ensemble cast. There's like no throwaway characters. I thought everyone did a great job on both sides, both families.
Right. Yeah, I tell you what, you knew that there was something interesting and special happening when you were on set. But obviously, you're at the mercy of the editors. You're at the mercy of the particular cut that they choose and how they put it all together. And I think they took some decent material and really, really made something special out of it.
Yeah. No, Brett did tell me, I have a video interview with him, and he said that you did have some issues with some of the dialogue in the movie originally.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't like the term, It was a specific term. I mean, if you see the movie, it's pretty blue. There's a lot of cussing in it. I don't like to use the word GD. I don't like GD.
Yeah, I understand.
And so I went to him and I said, is there any way that we can avoid that? I think I can get the point across using some other expletive other than that. And he gave me permission. He talked to everyone else, and we went over what we were going to do instead. And he said, "Yeah, that'll be fine."
Yeah,
but there were only a couple of those.
Sure, and he's a pretty young guy, and I believe this is his first. It is his first feature that he directed. So,
right.
When you first go in, what did you think of him, and what was he like? Once you started to work with him.
Well, when I first went in, it wasn't when I auditioned from the very outset. It was the whole crew. I mean, Clay and Matt and Udoy and all of them. I mean, there were probably 8 or 9 people. I'm the casting director. They were a team, and they were all in there. In fact, I didn't know who the writer was, who was what. I just knew that there were a bunch of people, and they were working together. And it was the same thing when we went in for the callback. But when we started working, it was evident that it was him. I was so impressed with when you see the script, and you can see that they understand not humanity, but a little bit of pathology in humanity and how that could play out. And I didn't know where he'd come up with some of the writing that he had done, but I was so impressed with it. And I loved when I asked him questions, how thorough he was. I would work with Brett again in a heartbeat. I think he's just incredibly talented.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any favorite lines? Because there is great dialogue throughout the whole movie.
I think my favorite line, and it was kind of downplayed, almost as a throwaway, but when the dad is telling me what his name is, because I'm making fun of his name and I'm calling him Gregory, David Hess, who played that role brilliantly. There are a couple of actors that I just absolutely loved, and David was one of them. But he's telling me my name is Greg, and I respond to him, and my name is Death. Mm-hmm. I love that line, and I thought as I read it that would be a big thundering line, but it was just more of a throwaway. But I still love the line.
Yeah. Now, you said you saw it. Have you watched it with an audience, like at any festivals or anything?
Yes. They did a premiere for the cast at Alamo Drafthouse in Austin.
Oh, nice.
And so there was family that got to see it, and they laughed at the parts that I thought they might miss. They really appreciated it, and I was thrilled.
Yeah. So what's that experience like to watch your movie with an audience, with yourself on the big screen? There's really nothing like it. I think for me, one of the things that I've always wanted to do is watch a movie with an audience and then not know that I was up there. Mm-hmm. Just go into a theater somewhere and watch it, and just be able to see them where they're watching it without any concern for reacting the right way. But so I think that is just an amazing experience to be able to see it, to see your work, to see how it's received and appreciated. Because in film we don't get that. That's what you live on stage. Mm-hmm. That the audience is a part of the performance, because they can make or break your performance. You sense them, you feel them, you hear them, and you don't get that in film unless you're in that audience and get to see that. And so it really completes the loop for you, so to speak. It just comes full circle for you. Yeah. Is that your background in acting, stage acting?
It is, and I only started doing film probably about 5 years ago, and because I was teaching theater at the time to middle school students, they were asking questions about film, and I didn't want to just have to tell them from what I was reading. I wanted to experience it, so I started doing some extra work, and then just fell in love with it.
Hmm. So, what made you want to become an actor?
When I was young, I saw a theater production. I was 5 years old. Saw a theater production, and they were sixth graders performing. They were kids like me, and the audience was laughing. They were clapping. They were respecting them and enjoying their performance, and it was just magical. And I wanted to be a part of that. I thought that my plate socially in school. Whenever I started doing theater, I suddenly became a part of things that I was excluded from in the past. So it was a way of meeting people and becoming a part of things.
Yeah. Well, were there any like either actors or movies or TV shows that you watch like you thought like, hey, this is what I want to do?
When I was a kid, I loved Red Skelton, and he would get up there and do comedy. But I think that the show that I watched over and over again that I loved was Twilight Zone. I grew up on Twilight Zone, and I loved what they did, and that became the kind of horror type movie or genre, that type of horror genre that I really love, that makes you think, that is more character driven.
Yeah. Are you looking forward to the new one?
Absolutely. Oh, I think it's going to be amazing.
I'm looking forward to it too. Yeah, they're fantastic. So, so your first time kind of playing a very dark character, what was the experience like?
First time playing what?
Like a dark character.
Are you talking?
Yeah, like a dark villain.
Yeah, it was playing. I will tell you, playing Cap was tough because he. It was such a transformation. It wasn't an easy flip in and flip out. I think that one was hard because it took a little bit longer to drop him off. I think they got us through pretty quickly. I think we shot that movie in under a month, and that's probably good. If I'd had to keep him on board much longer, it would have. It wouldn't have gone well.
Right.
That was tough. Probably one of the hardest to drop off.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because when I saw your pictures like on IMDb, I was like, oh, he looks like a nice guy. I don't know what I was expecting. I didn't expect you to have like an X card for it or anything, but but much different.
Right.
Movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was a complete departure.
And there's a real lack of Thanksgiving horror movies. There's a ton of Christmas horror movies, and so
right.
This one finally we get a good a Thanksgiving horror movie, which I even a couple weeks ago Joe Bob Briggs, he did the marathon for Thanksgiving horror movies, and there was only like 4, and I had him on the show, and I suggested that he watch Derelicts.
That's great. I wonder if he did.
I don't know, but I told him he has to check it out because there's, like I said, there's not too many of them, but it's definitely my favorite Thanksgiving horror movie.
The thing that I loved about Derelicts, and I guess we don't want to give too much away, but it's not like we take a pristine, wonderful family and then turn this group on them. It's like, this family, there's something off, and I appreciate that. I mean, but I do love that there's some good in the Derelicts themselves, and Forrest wants to go around and have people talk about what they're thankful for.
Yeah.
And I mean, that just cracks me up, and he's being sincere. He wants to know what people are thankful for, because it's Thanksgiving, just it's almost a dark, sweet kind of thing,
I agree. And so most of the movie takes place in the house. Was it an actual house like that they rented?
Yes, it was. It was an actual house. They did slight alterations to the house, added a wall here, and made some changes. And I hear that the cleanup was absolutely brutal when they had to get rid of blood. We had blood on the ceiling from one miscue on on one particular special effect, but there was a lot of cleaning up. I mean, not only did we shoot in the house, I mean, they were living in that house and in and outside, and it in a little neighborhood, and so we had very specific directions on where we could park, so that we weren't raising too much concerns.
Yeah.
From neighbors.
Did any neighbors see like you guys like in costume or covered in blood or anything like walking outside?
Yeah, they would see us. Well, I mean, obviously the Derelicts themselves have all these markings all over their face and yellow teeth and all the pieces, just the dirtiness. And so we would see people, and we got some looks. We got quite a few looks. But I wear glasses in real life, and for the movie, I don't wear glasses. So when we were taking a break and we were outside, I couldn't see people's expressions, but I would look at the people around me, and they would be chuckling.
That's pretty good. Yeah. So, how about the truck scene? Because during the Q&A in Buffalo, it was brought up that the truck was moving pretty fast, actually, when they were filming that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we were going full speed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and yeah, I don't know how dangerous that was, and I was driving without glasses, so it may have been more dangerous than they realized. But yeah, it was a great scene. It was a great scene, but it was out in the country, so it's not like there were a lot of cars that we had to worry about.
Yeah. So how long from when you filmed it till it was finished?
Oh my gosh, this one took quite a while. I bet it was 18 months. I bet it was 18 months, and I think they went back and forth on a couple of scenes, because I will tell you, I think the movie from the original script could have been more in terms of 110 minutes, almost 2 hours. Mm-hmm. And they cut out and refined and just got it to a point where they were able to get it in 70 minutes. And that blew me away, but I like the choices that they made. I mean, it was a lean, mean movie, but I think they really worked hard to get the best product they could, and it took them a long time, but they didn't want to rush it and compromise anything.
Yeah. No. Once you saw it with the score and any all put together, edited together, what was your initial reaction to it?
My initial reaction, honestly, was that it had turned out better than I expected it to, and that I truly believed that it was marketable. I thought this is something that we find the right niche. This thing is completely viewable and enjoyable. I think they've done what they set out to do, and that was my initial reaction.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. I told Brett in Buffalo and Greg who ran it. I said, I think at this movie, if it gets out there, it'll be it could really catch on with audiences, because it's not necessarily mainstream, but it's more accessible than a lot of some other movies that were there. It could appeal to a larger audience, right. I think.
Yeah, and I think there were some times, there were some scenes that they kind of worried about, how do we want to play this out, because we don't want to go over the top or do something that's going to turn people off. Mm-hmm. Like the scene when they bring in. Well, and I don't want to give that away. There were just scenes that they were going back and forth on how to do things to keep it accessible. And anytime you're looking at movie making, there's always going to be that little bit of pressure between art and being commercially viable, and sometimes you've got to make those decisions.
Mm-hmm. And, did you know that all the characters for your particular family are named after cold cuts?
might have heard that. I might have heard that and just forgot about it.
It came up in the internet, and I did, and then I started thinking. I was like, "Oh, that's kind of it's just a little thing that's there, and I dig it."
Oh, that's great. Well,
yeah.
Thank you for that. I will definitely think about that the next time I have a chance to see it.
All right. So I have to ask. I didn't bring up Turk, who has who's on the poster with the teddy bear mask, which is so bizarre, and the fact that it has like the whole bear with the arms and legs adds like a really element of just the oddness to it. And, so what was he like to work with, to act with? I guess Turk.
I will tell you, he's another example where he was part of that original group that were the writers.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how much of Turk was something that they were talking about all the time, or if it was something that he was kind of coming up on his own. But he, as a person, the nicest guy in the world, the nicest guy, wonderful to spend time with and talk to, just so easygoing. And then he gets into his character and is this complete crazy maniac, almost animalistic. And I thought he did it brilliantly. I loved working with him. I loved working off of him, and that was a great experience.
Yeah, it's wild, and I love the poster art too. By the way, it's that's what got me. First of all, you see it, and I was like, wow, that looks interesting.
Yeah, no, I love the poster. I do, and it's totally different than what you see, from other movies. I liked it.
Yeah, it's definitely unique. Yeah, it stands out. So, are you a horror? I know you mentioned Twilight Zone, but are you a horror movie fan?
I am, but I will tell you that I'm not the kind of guy that I don't get into like Friday the 13th or Halloween. I like character-driven, intelligent stuff. I remember growing up, the first horror movie, outside of Twilight Zone, first movie I fell in love with was Burnt Offering with Oliver Reed and Karen Black. Do you remember that?
Yeah, Oliver Reed's a man.
Yeah, I absolutely loved that movie. I loved the way they developed it, and it kind of anything that makes the audience wonder how much of this is real, how much of this is psychological, and they kind of play with you there. I remember falling in love with When a Stranger Calls, the original one, not the remake.
Yeah.
With Carol Kane. Loved that. Always loved Alfred Hitchcock stuff. Growing up, like The Blob and Wolfman. Loved all of that. But I'm more in what is believable, to be honest with you. What gets me, I'm not so much the jumpy kind. I like stuff that is intelligent and it makes you wonder, could this happen? Mm-hmm. And that's the stuff that's really scary to me.
Yeah, I agree. That's more, I like all kinds of stuff, but if I pick like my favorite, that's probably kind of stuff that I'm into too. So
Neil, do you make movies?
No. People have suggested that a lot lately, which is interesting. I'm just this year from doing this show, I've been offered parts in some movies, which I've done.
Is that right?
Yeah. I can't say what coming up, but just yesterday I found out I'm going to be in a movie by a director that I really like, a cult director. I can tell you off the air. I'm very excited about that.
Well, that is cool. Do you think being in the movie? I'm sorry, you're supposed to be interviewing me, but I do have to ask you. Do you think that being in movies will give you a different insight from what you do?
Yeah, I'd say definitely. Even just I've done like a little even just doing some parts and being on movie sets the last couple of years, it gives me a different insight, like I said. And also, I really took notice to Gregory Lamberson, who ran the festival, and he's been directing movies for like 30 years. And just the questions he would ask in the Q&As, I thought were like, oh, this is stuff that, I wouldn't think of asking. Most people wouldn't think of asking. It was a totally different. I thought he was really good at the Q&As because he not doing the movies. Not only did he ask stuff of the directors that I wouldn't think of, but a lot of distribution stuff that I wouldn't think about.
Oh, so. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. No, that's interesting. Well, I asked you if you made movies because it seems like with your understanding and with your love of it, it would be a natural fit. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would like to. Like I said, just the last couple of years, actually, some directors on the show told me the same thing. So it was it's encouraging. Other people think I should. Yeah. So, how about yourself? Yeah. I know you're an actor, but do you do anything on I don't want to say the creative side because obviously acting's creating, but do you do any like writing or directing or anything like that?
In the past, I have done. I told you I was a teacher, and I was at the middle school level. And when you're a public school teacher, and you don't have a budget, you find yourself writing a lot. And I wrote musicals. I wrote plays, and because when you're doing things for kids, especially middle school, and in this day and age, I didn't focus so much on Shakespeare. I wanted to focus on stuff that's accessible to them, and a lot of times just getting them to be a human on stage rather than being an actor, on stage. You want to write stuff that's a bit more accessible, and so I did some writing, did some directing there. Have done some other, but it was all stage. I haven't done any movie writing for a screenplay or directing a movie. But I definitely see myself going in that direction in the near future.
Mm-hmm. So, what do you have coming up?
Well, I'm involved right now in a movie called Nothing But the Blood. It's a local Austin independent movie, and believe it or not, I'm a cult leader. But the difference with this one is that I'm not a redneck. Which you think a cult leader would naturally fit into being a redneck, but no. In this one, I'm the kind of cult leader that people are not embarrassed to go to. They see me as I don't know. I think oftentimes we have a stereotype regarding the intelligence of rednecks, and so many times it is so wrong. And I think that your accent does not determine. Just because you're British does not mean you're intelligent. Just because you're a redneck does not mean you're ignorant. So, but we removed all accent and just had him be more intelligent and but it's I would say it's a movie about the trappings of religion and how sometimes modern religion can play a negative role in lives, and I think that's the approach that the writers have taken on that one.
Sounds interesting.
So, yeah, and it's a horror. It's a horror, and I guess more of a realistic horror. Nothing supernatural happens.
Very cool. So,
yeah.
So, for people for Derelicts right now, it's at doing the festival run. So, if anyone out there does get a chance, if it's playing at a festival near you, I highly recommend it. I loved it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I would too. I think they would love it. I don't know. Do they have any more? Do we have any more planned? or are we just done for 18? Yeah, 19.
Oh, okay. So it's it's already been at the festivals, you think?
Well, they've probably, I think they hit about 9 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Got into Telluride and just did New York City horror.
Right.
Of course, they did the Buffalo. I think they hit about 9, so they may be just about finishing that run, and so now I think we may be looking at where we go next.
Okay, very good. Well, hopefully it gets out there because I think people are going to really dig it.
Well, thank you, Neil. Thank you so much.
You're
That's
welcome.
wonderful hearing from you.
Yeah. And do you have like social media where people can follow you?
Absolutely. I'm Les Best.
Uh-huh.
I'm Les Best, and I'm on Facebook.
All right.
So they can follow me there.
Very good. Well, I appreciate you.
I'm old, so I don't do any of the other stuff.
I understand. I'm mostly on Facebook. I don't like Twitter, but I know I should probably use them for the show, but I'm not a big fan of them. Maybe I should get someone else to run the Twitter for me. If anyone's listening.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't. I always, I'm no good at it at all. But but Facebook, I think it's good for an old man like me. So I run it.
All right, fair enough. Well, I appreciate you doing this. It's been very fun to talk to you.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me, Neil. It's been a pleasure talking to you, sir.
Very
Hope
good.
to see you again sometime.
Yeah, definitely. When the next horror movie comes out, the next time you're a call member, we'll have you back on.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good, Neil.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yep.